Hi everyone, good evening. How's everybody doing? So we've had some really big moves in Bitcoin. Some moves that have caught people, hi everyone, good evening, by surprise. How's everybody doing? So we've had some, there, I've turned off the echo. Much more upside than they were expecting, and a lot of this move. Let me put regular candles on, and hi Kanashi. I was one of them. I was thinking that we would make an ABC down, an ABC up. You know, we might not get out of the weeds and get stuck in these moving averages, and we would see another leg lower. But in the last 3 days, we've broken above the daily 50 moving average, and we are on our way to the top of this channel. I've drawn it like this. Now, if you draw it like this as a declining wedge, it looks like we've broken out of the channel today, doesn't it? And it looks like we're in a new leg higher. I would just say one word of caution, because I like to see 3 touches of trend lines. I like to see the third touch be a kind of false breakout acknowledgement of the trend line, so then I know it's valid before it carries on. If you just have 2 touches and you blast through it and you don't even come back and retest it, for me, that's not really a trend line or a trend line breakout. And very often when you have a declining wedge like this and the they're not parallel, but the lines come closer together, where you get resistance is the parallel. So if and no technical analyst will say this is valid, but I find this all the time. So that if you make a parallel channel by cloning the bottom, the other side, and you put it on the top, then that becomes your target. So my target now, because of this swing, if I put my fibs on from this high to this low, because this swing was 38.2 really of this one, or 50% of the big high to low, I'm looking for a 1.618 extension of this swing. And that's our 1.618 level there at 12,245 next. Now, that doesn't mean that I think that 12,245 is going to be the high and we're going to stop there forever and never come back. I just think that that's where we'll see our next kind of significant pullback if people are waiting to get in, or if people are waiting to buy more Bitcoin. 12,245, I think, is where it'll come from. And then we might come back, test the 20 moving average, do a little bit of a pullback. If this is if this is going to be 5 waves up and a new upswing, then what we will see is, if this is wave 3 from this low, we measure up to here, then 38.2 is the most usual place that we come back to. I'm just going to take this line away in the middle, because that would put us back to here. And this previous high, that's the 38.2 from this swing if we come back there. And that would be 11,070. So a very big move today. Let's talk about what's driving it, because if we know what's driving it, then when that ends, it might give us a clue that the party's over. So last week we had the Fed, and the Fed cut rates, and the market had a bit of a whoopsie. But then the next day, President Trump announced new trade tariffs against China for everything else that was no longer covered for by a tariff, and it has caused a massive reaction. It's caused a very, very ugly reaction in stock markets. And what I like about Bitcoin is how resilient Bitcoin is. Bitcoin's going up while the markets are crashing. And that tells you that somebody's buying Bitcoin for a reason. So this is the dollar Chinese yuan. This is a monthly chart. On every occasion that the President Trump has imposed tariffs on Chinese goods, the Chinese have weakened the Chinese yuan. So the dollar has gone up against the yuan every time. And what they do is they weaken the yuan to offset the damaging effects of the tariffs in China, which is great if you're a Chinese manufacturer. But if you have if you're forced to hold your money in yuan, it's pretty unfortunate. Not only that, but China is being forced to buy very, very large amounts of US dollars to do this. And they don't want to do that. So if you're wondering today why, for example, when all of the other currencies, the euro dollar, the Aussie dollar, the Kiwi, everything was getting completely smashed last week after the Fed. And then suddenly they're rallying, it's because the Chinese government are recycling their dollars that they're buying into those other currencies to reduce their risk. Not only that, but they can recycle them back into yuan and keep buying, right? So they can buy dollars, and then they use those dollars to buy euro, okay, and then they can recycle them back and keep doing it, rinse, repeat, and keep weakening the dollar yuan this way. So this is a monthly chart. So we've got some resistance coming up, but in this, I think we've got a lot further to go. And if that keeps happening, you know, I see this is people in China and Chinese businesses and anybody with access to Bitcoin can protect their money in Bitcoin. And we are seeing a real market use, I think, of Bitcoin in this rally. And that's what is driving this. So, and it's not just China at the moment, you know, it's also, there's sanctions in Iran as well. So there was talk for a bit about the Iranian government buying Bitcoin. I'm not sure about that. But definitely this is China. So as long as we see, and I don't see any sign, look, we've just crossed the monthly 200 moving average. I don't see any sign that this move is about to stop anytime soon in the dollar yuan. It certainly won't until until this is sorted out. So if you wanted to see what might be a negative, so if we're talking about what might be negative news for Bitcoin, well, a trade deal with China might be negative news for Bitcoin, or technical resistance in the dollar yuan currency. Okay, so that's what I think is driving Bitcoin. And that is why we've got this astonishing Bitcoin dominance, you know, and Bitcoin dominance is off again. Now, when I look at this weekly chart of Bitcoin dominance for when this is likely to end, you know, we've got this big rally coming up and other fib levels. Let's make them all darker, these fib levels from the high in this Bitcoin dominance chart. There we go. So other fib levels have been pretty good support and resistance in this rally. So the 236 was support, 382 was resistance. So we are coming up on a 50% when we might have a little bit of a pullback and a bit of an alt rally. But I'm kind of one of these people, you know, I like for confluence and I like fib extensions, and I also like to measure legs. So if this is going to be 5 waves or whatever, I just think that there's more confluence with these lows up here. It's like they're screaming, you know, this support and resistance up here at this 618 fib level. And so it might be that Bitcoin dominance goes all the way to 77 before we see this end and we get a decent alt rally. And so until then, I think we should be a little bit cautious in alts. And let's see what happens here when we get to 68. If I put some fib projections on like this, I just feel like, I don't know, I feel like it's got further to go. So I'm not going to waste time doing this now, but there we go. So that's Bitcoin. Has anybody got any more questions about Bitcoin? So 12245. When we get here, this is going to tell us whether this is a new leg, or the pullback here is going to tell us, are we in a new leg higher in Bitcoin, or is this just a big A, B, C down and then A, B, C up before we do a final C leg? So this is a big A, big B, and then a big C leg lower, and we have another August. Remember, I always thought that July would be a pullback month, a down month. But if we are correcting, so say we think that we've already done 5 waves up from these lows here in Bitcoin, and that by that I mean the lows that we've made in December. So if you think that this is just a wave 4 and we're kind of doing a correction on the scale of this, then this correction here took a month. So it would be quite reasonable for us to, you can see, this correction took the same amount of time. So it would be quite reasonable for us to resume the uptrend and do a 5th leg higher in Bitcoin, okay? And then that would be 1, 2, big 3, 4, 5 done, okay? Before we get a bigger correction. And our correction would come back to the bottom of this wave 4 here. around 9,600. But if we think that this entire sequence is 5 waves finished, then this corrections normally take about 1/3 of the time of the rally. So let's use a tool here. Let's use our trend-based fib time. Okay, so we'll go from the low here in December to the high here, and we'll stop it here. So we're looking for 38.2 of this, and that would take us to about the 8th of September. So that would make sense with another leg higher, and then we do finally 5 ways down and something like that. And that would give us that 8,000 level that everybody's been rabbiting on about and waiting for. Okay, so those are the two options. So how are we going to know? Well, we're only going to know when we see what happens on this next pullback. So this next pullback, where we get to and how this next pullback plays out will be key. About whether we pile in and buy as many Bitcoin as we can, or whether we step out of the way and wait for one more swing lower or not. So that's where I am with Bitcoin. Now, before, when Bitcoin's done big moves, what tends to happen after the first sort of stages of the big move in Bitcoin and it starts to kind of ease off a bit, is we see people recycle their profits from Bitcoin into other altcoins. And they usually start with a big kind of bigger size blue chip altcoins. So today we're starting to see, after kind of some difficult sideways consolidation here in Ethereum, today we're seeing the first signs of a bigger move higher in Ethereum. Happy days. If we make a big ABC correction here in Ethereum, then that's going to take us a little bit higher. But because this was a 61.8, so if I go all the way out, because we're bouncing from a 618 fib retrace from these December lows, my target is actually a little bit higher in ETH Bitcoin, and this daily 50 moving average up here at 256. So, and this level we broke above today, which was resistance for such a long time, 222, should be support. We shouldn't go back beneath that in Ethereum US dollar. Bilal says, can we take a quick look at ETH? Can we take a quick look at ETH US dollar? Yes. ETH Bitcoin? Yes, we can. Nasty breakdown in this one. Let's tidy up this chart and get this. See what's going on here. I had a bullish pattern in this that failed, and it's really annoying. Anyway, it is what it is, I guess. You know, with the ICO season and the clampdown regulation coming, this is where we are at with this one. So I'm going to measure from this high to this low and project it from here and see where that 61.8 is, because I think we went beyond it, in which case we'd be looking for a retest of the lows. Yeah, we did. That was the level I was hoping we would hold. So we've lost it. Now, potentially, there is another fib level in between an 886, believe it or not, and the 1 number, which is at 942. So if 886 is the square root of 7, this is the next square root up. And sometimes it works as a bounce level, and that's at 0.01704. But otherwise, I really think that this is, unfortunately, headed back to retest the lows, and there's not much we can do about it. And we're in that final fifth leg. Look, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the fifth leg very often ends as a choppy, overlapping, ending diagonal, and that's what we've got going on here. So when you want to know that we've really finished going down in ETH Bitcoin, it will be when we break out of this and break this channel to the upside. I'm not going to put one on the bottom. It looks a bit scary at the moment here. Let's see. We're kind of right. Could have a little bit of a throw over here, but we're right on the bottom rail, aren't we? So potentially we could bounce, but there's absolutely no sign of it at the moment. Let's see the short-term frame. Yeah. Let's see if we can make a bit of a base here. So, okay. Oh, you like it? Okay, good luck. All right, so let's talk about Litecoin and the halving. I got a little bit excited this morning and I bought some Litecoin. This is Litecoin Tether. Let's start on the daily chart. because we've been doing this sideways consolidation here, and we've been stuck for a couple of days below that round number 100. I don't know if it's profit taking or, you know, but it's just one of those round numbers that tends to, you tend to get stuck at in crypto. Here, when we were above it, we couldn't close below it, then we couldn't close above it, and then it began the high, and here we are again playing the same game at 100. If we take a look underneath, we've got underneath, we had a false breakout, we've got back underneath, and we've retested it, and it looks like another leg lower. I still say, and I look at the daily momentum, and I still say that we should go higher as long as we can stay above this 20 moving average, you know, and everything is lining up to point this way. Momentum, the RSI, everything is pointing to an upswing, but false breakouts are powerful. So we should be a little bit careful. I'm going to close my position back below that daily 20 moving average, which at the moment, I think my stop is at 97. Yeah, 96.50. 96.50 is where the daily 20 moving average is. So Bilal says, Bitcoin rallied back in 2016 before the Bitcoin halving. So you think over the next year that ETH will outperform Bitcoin? I think it definitely could. You know, we're about to finish. That's, you know, when we looked at it, that was 5 waves down. You know, we are coming to the end of a sequence, it looks like. And within this, you know, this 5 waves here, we've got like, it looks like we're in the 5th wave here. So yeah, maybe from the bottom rail of this channel, maybe from that 942 level at 0.1704. Let's see. Litecoin looks very tricky though, doesn't it? Yeah. It's very tricky. You know. So let's talk about reasons to be bullish, because there are some really good reasons to be bullish. Let's start again here with a clean chart, okay? First of all, when we did this big rally, I think, let's see where we went to in terms of, I need to go to Coinbase for more chart history. Here we go. Okay. So, sorry about this. Because for me, this was quite a... No, it wasn't there, was it? Let's move this down. Okay, so in terms of fibrils in this swing, okay, and what you tend to see happen when it plays out is, if I've drawn it correctly, which probably not at the moment, I can't quite get it on the low, as you do with the magnet thing. Okay, so this reversal at a 786 fib came back to the 38.2 as it's supposed to, and when it does that, you would normally expect a rally back to 50% of the drop in the middle. So I'm looking for 50% of this drop, and at the moment we're still at the 38.2. So that's one reason to think from here we go higher in Litecoin and back to that daily 50 moving average at 111, which we haven't quite reached yet. Another reason to think that we would rally at least 50% is if I measure from this low to high, we bounce from the 50% level. And so mean reverting markets tend to keep mean reverting. So because we bounce from a 50% pullback, we should at least rally to a 50% pullback before we properly roll over again. And we haven't quite got there yet in Litecoin. So I still think that there's room to squeeze a little bit higher and see what happens at 111. And if we go beyond that, then we've broken the pattern and we are in a new swing higher. So that's where we are there. If we looked at this, you know, if you look at this on a daily, yeah, it's just, we're sideways. And not only that, but we're in sideways in the range of one big fat candle from back here. So this is this candle that we made on the 18th of July. So there's the highs of this candle. Here's the lows of this candle. And we're still within the sideways range of it. It's very frustrating. If we look at the open close, we get a little bit of a tighter range, but that's where we're stuck. Controlling bar, controlling range. So yes, until we break out of this range, we're not really going anywhere in Litecoin, dollar. Now, if we look at Litecoin, Bitcoin, and see, because you kind of tend to want to be in the ones that are outperforming Bitcoin. You know, we missed the measured move level. We broke the Gartley pattern. That's not happening. We're sitting on the 886 fib level here. Potentially, we're setting up a double bottom, potentially. And we should be looking for the first signs of a reversal here. So let's go to a lower time frame and see if we are. You know, because we've had this lovely big move this morning. But one swallow is not a summer. So we need to retest the lows and hold them, make a higher low, something like this. Holding back above this 886 fib, I think, is quite positive, but there we go. Where did I get my Litecoin targets this morning? Okay, so Litecoin dollar. Let's go back to Litecoin dollar. Daily, here we go. Now, because I got my targets this morning this way. So if we're going to start a new Litecoin rally from this low to high, then we measure the first swing, and I haven't got my things on, but if I had my magnet on, it would be putting me right here. So I've got, it says 184 at Tether, it's 188 at Coinbase. So that would be where the second swing higher, that would be where we would be making a big ABC correction. So 2 equal legs higher in Litecoin. So on the weekly, that's what it would be looking like, 2 equal swings up. So we've got a retest of the highs. If we do start a new leg higher, our first target will be this 147 area or the previous highs, and then the equal measured move is there as well. So that's that. And then the other way, of course, I like to look for targets is I look for 1.618 of this swing as well. Here at Binance, it does come out. I don't know, it's 192. It was the exchange that I was looking at this morning, it was 188. So you can see that 1.618 of this pullback lines up with the equal measured move from this low. So 2 equal swings like that. And so that's where I got that target from if we start a new swing higher as my second target. And kind of around these highs as well. So, okay. So, there. Now on the weekly look, we're just first green high Kanashi after 6 down weeks. So hopefully positive sign and we get some follow through in Litecoin. So that's where we are with Litecoin. We're doing real nitty gritty in the details tonight, aren't we? Now let's see what's going on with XTZ, which we haven't looked at a bit. Now tonight, we are looking at most coins against the dollar as well as Bitcoin. The reason is there's been such a massive move. When there is such a massive move in Bitcoin, you really want to know, you don't want it to be distorted, because it could be that the move on the chart you're looking at is all because of Bitcoin and nothing to do with the coin you're buying. So when we look at XTZ here and we start off with Tezos, then we know that we're going up in dollar terms, no matter what the Bitcoin chart says. So, and looking pretty good. Now, on the daily, when we did this before, we could not, let's go to the weekly in fact, we could not get above this first fib level, from this first swing lower. And so from this high to this low, this 236 fib level is what capped us. We couldn't close the week above it, and that was where we're at. We've just retested it and had a little bounce off it. Now we need to see if we can overcome it, because if we can overcome it and it's at 166, then that will say next leg higher. And as you know, they all have a relationship. So if we do this, and we measure like this, we can look for a retest of the highs first off, then 2.3, 2.7, and if we're really bullish, which I am, I'm looking for 1.618 and 50% of this drop from here, which gives us a target of 3.219. Okay, another way we could look for that confluence is do a fib projection from here. Whoops, wrong one. In Tezos. Okay, here's our 1.618 here. It's not going to line up, is it? Let's see. That gives an earlier target. So we'll say 2.44 and then 3.15 would be our two upside targets if we can make new highs. I do not consider this an inverted head and shoulders pattern. And I would say a cup and handle if I had to call it anything. The reason is that the shoulders are too unbalanced. This is too small to be a left shoulder relative to this right shoulder. So if we said cup and handle, then that's fine. To be honest, it's the same measure rule, whether it's a head and shoulders or a cup and handle. You measure from here to this next, and you project, and that takes us up to this 50% level almost. So I'm leaning towards that higher second target. So that's how we are with XTZ Tether. Bullish if we can get above 1.66. Now we need to look at Bitcoin because most people aren't trading it against Tether. So I would say, you know, look at it even if you're not. So here, these fibs are not quite so. I'm going to take them down. Okay. Here in this channel that we're in, we've got 2 touches on the bottom, 2 touches on the top side. It's not actually a parallel channel at the moment, but I'm going to draw it like this anyway. Wedge or whatever. We bounced off the lows, got a bullish cross of our daily moving averages, pulled back to the 20, and it looks like we're rallying off it today. Let's take a look and see if we've done any kind of a bullish pattern here, like a big ABC or something like that, or a decent fib level. Because back above this hourly 20 and 200 moving average is pretty nice and bullish for XTZ to start another run. Now, if this was a big 1, 2, 3, the most common retrace would be 38.2, sometimes 50%. And this was an exact 50% pullback of this leg. So for me, that's pretty bullish. If we've done a nice kind of ABC measured move here as well, not quite equal, but it's got that look. So if we don't make a 5th leg and we rally from here from a 50% pullback like this and the daily 20 moving average, then we stay in a pretty nice uptrend in XTZ and we look higher from here. If we do a 5th leg, look 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's equal to the first leg, that will take us from here to this 200 moving average and a little bit higher. So there's a bit of support and resistance around here as well. So I'd be looking for around 15,250 and see what happens at the 200-day moving average next. It's completely flat, so you know it's not going to be that much, but I think above there, and we are likely on our way back to the top of the channel again in XTZ. Okay, so that's XTZ Bitcoin. Let's talk about Ripple, which broke some hearts today. Over the weekend anyway, it broke some hearts. Kept threatening to break out from this wedge, didn't it? And then all the way back, a big ABC correction, broke out and then came back again. This actually did then make a pretty nice inverted head and shoulders here. Continuation one, which is what you see in a pullback, and up we going. So we're going higher. Let's see. I normally say in a pullback like this, if you go beyond the 50%, which is quite often support and resistance, you're probably going to a new high and you'll measure the legs. So we have gone beyond the 50% here in Ripple dollar. We can take away these lines. We can go up to look at a 4-hour chart, see where we're going. So if this is our first swing, we'll measure from our first swing. So second swing says 0.3349 in Ripple dollar, and then 0.3573 our next targets. So off the bottom of the sideways range that we've been in for ages, haven't we? This sideways range. So many touches on the top side, 4 touches on the bottom side, at least that on the top side. So another way to say confirm that you know you're off your lows and going higher is if you put your fibs on from this high to the low. What you want to see is above the 236 fib. That's like a bull bear line. So that's going to be your first objective, and that's kind of where we were looking, I think. So no, a little bit higher. So above 3431 we will, oh no, here we go. Above 3361, my apologies, which is where we stalled before, we'll be on our way to the top of the range again, I think, in Ripple. So we've got a little bit of work to do. We're not in an uptrend yet in Ripple dollar, but we are making some positive moves and going beyond 50% of this drop and this kind of pullback, head and shoulders continuation pattern is quite positive for Ripple. So here we can see it again like this. Let's see. Okay, so that's Ripple dollar. So we're going to look for resistance at 0.33619. And if we get above that, we're laughing. If we look at Ripple Bitcoin, this is not such a pretty chart, obviously. God, we're just... Now, on my daily chart, I ran out of fib supports for Ripple. And so we broke the 786 fib, which was here. Now we're looking for this 886 fib to hold. And we haven't quite got there yet. And here's how I've drawn this. Okay, this is Ripple Bitcoin at Binance. And we've gone from the December 2017 low here to the high that we made in January 18. Okay, I'm going to look at. So we're looking for a tag of this 886 fib level. It's at 2620 and we're not quite there yet. So I'm going to say, although it looks like we're hanging on at previous lows, I feel like in Ripple Bitcoin, we've got a little bit further to fall. So you might want to hold back a little bit before piling into Ripple and maybe waiting till we break out at the top of that sideways Ripple US dollar channel. So having a bit of a fight trying to hold these lows, but it does look to me like the path of least resistance is lower, unfortunately. And we'll see what happens at 2620 for Ripple Bitcoin. Next one we're going to look at is Bitcoin Cash SV. Bitcoin Cash SV, so much promise. Okay, I'm going to start on a daily chart against the dollar. This one has the potential to properly squeeze us. Let's take some of this away. Okay, so we had our, let's see where we rallied from first of all, because it kind of guides us to our upside targets a little bit. So it's a messy one, but I'm going to call it as a 61.8 bounce. So technically, really, in Bitcoin Cash SV, we're bouncing in the golden ratio zone between the 61.8 and the 38.2. It's like a box where the bulls and the bears fight it out. One of the most important aspects of this golden ratio zone, and let's make sure I've drawn it properly, is that how the 50% level in the middle works as a pivot level. And you can see here how it was the lows, highs, highs. So this level through the middle, which is at 153.76, this 50% level, becomes our pivot level bull bear line. And so far, in trying to get out of trouble here in Bitcoin Cash SV, in all of these attempts, you know, we've been here, what, 10 days? We haven't been able to close above it. And today, it looks like we're going to for the first time, which is a pretty good bullish sign for Bitcoin Cash SV. And it points to another leg higher to the top of the run and this daily 50 moving average, which we haven't talked to for quite a while. So I'm quite optimistic, but we haven't got past the last hurdle, which is the daily 20 moving average. So and this really, this sideways range. So it's looking good, but it's not quite out of the woods yet. So that's how I feel about this Bitcoin Cash SV. And I've been watching this declining wedge in this one. You see all the way from this high on the 21st of July. We've been watching this one to break out for another leg higher for ages, and it's really taking its time. It really took its time to break out. Then we went sideways, and now we've got this little tight sideways narrow range going on that we really need to break to the upside of. But a close above 153.76 would be a step in the right direction. So that's Bitcoin Cash, Tether. Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin obviously doesn't look terribly clever either. So this is our sideways range we need to break out of. And then 178 is the 38 is our first target. And then 208 is our second upside target if we can break higher here in Bitcoin Cash SV. So let's take a look at Bitcoin Cash SV Bitcoin. Now in this one, here's this long declining channel wedge that we're in. It's really just a channel, isn't it? So no breakout yet. The most positive thing that happened today in this one was a higher low, pointing to maybe another bit of a swing. But so we're kind of stable and sideways, which is better than today, which is, you know, when you consider that the massive up day that Bitcoin had, being kind of stable and sideways is pretty good, because whatever Bitcoin is doing, whatever gains you're making, if you're matching Bitcoin toe for toe, you're going up by that amount as well. And if we look at this channel, which I've drawn now parallel, you can see that we are actually bouncing off the bottom rail. So we are due a move to the top one. Let's take these moving, you can see it a bit better here. If I take the moving averages away. There, we've drawn it from this high to this spike and connected as many as we can. Should go from that low, shouldn't I? There we go. So from the top rail, let's look for a rally from here up to sort of 1 million, maybe 414,000. Another way, of course, is the 236 fib. That says 1,405,000. So we'll go with that, 1,405,000. If we go above there, then that'll be like our breakout bull bear line in Bitcoin Cash SV versus Bitcoin. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is Chainlink. I said that very confidently, and then of course don't have Chainlink here, do I? Hold on. There we go. Oh, nearly this one. There we go. Chainlink. Okay. So again, we're going to start with dollar charts because we're looking at, because of the moves in Bitcoin, we want to make sure that we've got bullish setups in the dollar, which for the most part we have. So here in Chainlink Tether, from the highs that we made in June, we are bouncing, and we're looking to see, is this going to be a new upswing? For it to be a new upswing, we need to close above this 236 fib, the first level here, which is at 2.586, and so far we haven't been able to. What's quite bullish is that we've stayed hanging around underneath. You know, this is kind of bullish tight consolidation. However, at some point, you know, this can start to be called distribution, and then we could see a drop. What I don't like is the shape of this rally. It does point to another leg lower in Link. And so, if that's the case, we would look for a retest of these lows, but then down to this hourly 200 moving average and 2.285 if this flag pattern breaks down. So if you are holding Link Tether, don't hang on below 2.5. It's going to come down to 2.28, and then wait and buy it back and see if we find some support there. So that's what we need. If we want to be bullish, if you're waiting for a signal to buy some, then we need to get above this 236 fib level and this daily 50 moving average, and that is 2.586. So below 2.5, get out of dodge. Above 2.586, watch for it to hold a support, and we carry on higher. And by that I mean, you know, we get above this level, hold support, carry on, and then buy more. But no breakout in link tether unless we get above 2.586. If we do, then we can look for 2.96 and then 3.2 next. But yeah, I'm not quite sure. Everything's pointing to it going higher. It's just that Bitcoin has all the attention at the moment. So let's take a look at Link Bitcoin. We've got a very similar pattern, you know. Again, from this low to this high, 618,382. So we're in that golden ratio zone. Let me tidy this up a little bit so it's a bit clearer. From this low to this high. So we bounce between the 618 and the 38.2, and that 50% level in the middle is the pivot level here. So that's what we're struggling with. You can see resistance, support, resistance. So that was what we're going to need to see a daily close above if we're going to be bullish Link Bitcoin, and that's at 23,756. So all the time I'm afraid we're underneath. I don't like the look of this, and I actually think that this could do another swing lower. And if we lose this 618 level, if we drop below 20,040, we're going to come down to the 786 fib next, which is at 14,750. So I wouldn't be hanging on in Link. I would, man, you know, this is the 200-day moving averages here. Whole lot lines up here for us to come back. So I wouldn't be, you know, I think you're better off in Bitcoin is what I'm trying to say in Link at the moment, unless we can regain 23,756. So I wouldn't be hanging around an end. Okay, so the next one we're going to look at is BNB. I'm just going to mention Ren because it's quite a good lesson. So in Ren, we've been looking for Ren to get, you know, these highs that we had gotten above, we didn't hold a support. And when we got back underneath them, they became resistance, this 163 level. So we were waiting for the next leg higher to begin, if you like, in Ren Bitcoin. And we kind of drawn it like this, and that we'd looked at this as the breakout. If I take this away, whenever you're looking at a new rally, you're looking at a new swing. Whenever a market makes two equal measured moves, which is what Ren did here, so you can see that these two swings were equal, and especially if it terminates around the kind of 50% or 61.8 in Ren that was, then that's a warning that this rally is just corrective and we've got another leg lower to come. And one of the signs of the confirmation of a reversal, if you put your fibs over both swings, and as soon as you come underneath the 236 fib level, which was here at 1163, so that was your confirmation that we'd failed and made an ABC correction here. But when we turned underneath 1163. So where are we likely to come back to here now? Well, if you do harmonic patterns and you've got this ABC, you'd be looking for a sharp pattern, or sorry, a cipher, some people call it, to the 786 in these previous lows next at 999. But it also points to another big, this is A, B, C. So if we measure from the highs in Ren, project from here, then it actually, the cipher is a little bit lower, 977. And potentially we could see a drop down to 800. So watch these moving averages very closely on the hourly, or like if you, I'm fine if you're bullish, but like if it breaks down from this channel, I wouldn't hang around in Ren. Potentially it could fall lots further. Now it could rally from here, and you know, we could come back to this trend line rally from here, and this will make a very nice three drives pattern. You know, there's lots of places where it could find some support, but if you're long of this one, I'd be watching Ren very closely, and that was your first warning. Okay, I missed one out, so I'm going to go back to BNB. I'm sorry for going out of order. Okay, so Binance Coin. I've been looking very hard for a re-entry into Binance Coin. I bought it here on this rally, and then when we failed at the 236 fib and rolled over, I had to get out again. I like this very much as a parallel channel. You can see these two lines are parallel, so we're within it. So even though we've now lost this, initially I was super bullish Binance Coin Bitcoin because this looks like a perfect ABC correction. Back to the 50% level, everything was good, right? Like, what's not to like? But it seems that we're going to extend lower, and so this trend line will either be support, but more likely we will, because we've been climbing that like a fib staircase, more likely we'll continue down to this 61.8 fib level. I'm going to see if there's a level here, but no, not really. So yeah, major support. So if you're holding some Binance Coin and you'd rather be in Bitcoin, see how we've broken what we think is this level? Well, if we come back and test it from underneath and get resistance there, that's going to be your exit. So that's what I'd be looking for. So look for us to come back and retest this level from underneath. What? Oh, I wouldn't. There we go. There we go. 4,200. And then if it fails there again, that's your get out of Dodge card. Now, does that mean that Binance Coin looks terrible against the dollar, Tether? Or no, it doesn't. Because this is really all about Bitcoin. And if we look at Binance Coin against Tether, it doesn't look great, but it doesn't look like disastrous, does it? So by any means. So let's tidy up these. Here, what's going on here? And see what's going on. So at the moment, we're holding above these previous highs. We've also done a nice big ABC correction, but no new low here. What I would really like to see is some just sideways while this 200 moving average catches up. And then I think that we'll be ready to go and turn higher again in Tether Bitcoin, in Binance Coin Tether. So for now, yeah, it's not quite ready, if you know what I mean. I would be patient and be looking at something else. Like if you have a bag of it, you're not going to lose money. It might end up being the Amazon of crypto one day, but you know, for now it's just not doing very much. It's just sideways consolidation. And I'm not tempted to buy it whilst it's bearish moving average. You know, with these bearish daily moving averages, I'd really like to see a double bottom or something like that before I got in BNB Bitcoin. So finally, this is one that nobody asked for. I added it on the end because it's looking interesting. So if there's one alt that caught my eye this evening, it is QNT, and now I can't find it. Where is QNT? Here we go. Raven coin is at a good level, but this is QNT. So pretty nice chart. From this high to low, we'll look at fibrils. We reversed it to 786, and we're bounced off the 382, which is what we're supposed to do. And looking at these daily moving averages, if we look at daily closes, really this is just one of those 618, 382 things as well, isn't it? So we've done it here. And we've held the support. These levels are messy, but that's fine. So if we can get above this pivot in the middle, the 50% level, which is at 93,716 in QNT, we should be starting a new leg higher, hopefully. I think it looks really good. It's definitely outperforming Bitcoin today. It's had a massive run. We had a really nice little bottoming pattern here off the lows in the last little while I've been talking. It's been flying. So obviously we need to buy pullbacks. Now that we're above this hourly 200 moving average, I would, for me, be looking for this overnight to pull back and find support from it. And I'd be a buyer around 79,500. Yeah, but I like the look of this a lot. So first minimum target, obviously, back to this 50% level at 93,716. And then above there, we've reversed the trend, hopefully, and we're on our way higher, 10,735. There aren't many coins out there outperforming Bitcoin, but this little QNT one does look like it can. Okay, Raven Bitcoin. Matt McRae, I know, I saw you looking at it. Let's see. So Raven Bitcoin. It's at this low. Okay. And it's at this previous low. So could we find support here? And right, let's see if that secret fib that we hardly ever use, that 942 level is there, because that might make me feel a little bit better about it. And the reason I don't always feel good, you know, is, yeah, it is right there. The reason I don't always feel very good about this necessarily is, you know, when you see a wedge pattern in a downtrend, it usually breaks with the trend, which is lower. However, in this case, this is not a wedge because that's from the lows, and this is a different sequence. So far, we could actually double bottom at this as a fib level, and so maybe it's not quite enough yet. And if we look on the hourly, we've only just got here. So what I want to see this as a nice bounce, then a retest or a higher low. Either way, I want to flip these moving averages away round, and then I'd be ready to buy the next bounce. If you don't like moving averages, if you want a level that's going to confirm that this is reversed, then we'll take from the high and look at that 236 fib level. And so above 380 would be confirmation that in fact we're, is it 380 or was it a little bit higher? A little bit higher. 382. Above 382 would confirm a bullish reversal of these lows in Raven, and we could be looking for a higher. You know, fibs work like a staircase, so they're support and resistance, and so this 886 fib level that we broke, see these lows, that will be the next kind of resistance level that we'll hit at 432, and above 432 that would be a bullish reversal, and up we go back to the highs, and then so on. Then get above here, we confirm the double bottom, we should go twice this distance, and so on. So that's where I'd be looking for. I'm going to put my next fib on it. It's not there. Okay, 823. If we can get a bullish reversal here, I'd be looking for 823 next. Okay, so we've covered everything. Not much tonight, is there? Because it's really, like, tricky. It's really tricky. It's all about China. As long as they keep buying Bitcoin and they keep weakening their currency, happy days. So, but really, so we're going to watch out for a daily or weekly close above 12,250, and close above 12,250. We'll be buying shallow pullbacks and a new upswing underway. Otherwise, potentially we could have another pullback month in August, and we need to be patient. Previously, you know, when there's been nasty sell-offs in the stock market, they have brought Bitcoin down. So, but at the moment, while it's a safe haven currency, wahoo! It's just, if Bitcoin takes a nasty turn or a move lower or does a quick 10% lower, people are going to go, what the hell? This isn't a safe haven currency. So, you know, we need to be careful. All right, everyone. Good night.